Sports, Cars, and Coffee. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever and wherever you are watching. It is good to have you here. Today, I would like to share with you my top 5 Hot Wheels cars. I also want to talk about the Hot Wheels cars that I am still hunting and why I'm specifically hunting for them. When it comes to collecting Hot Wheels cars, I often look for cars that have nostalgic or sentimental value. That being said, finding a treasure hunt or a super treasure hunt that's worth a bit of money is not a bad thing either. I first started collecting Hot Wheels as a kid. I always took them out of their cards and either put them on a playmat or threw them in a bin. It wasn't until a few years ago that I committed to being a carded collector with my Hot Wheels. Regardless of whether they're carded or loose, here are the top 5 Hot Wheels cars in my current collection. Coming in at
number 5
is this Dodge Viper RT10. The body type of this Dodge Viper is from the early 90s. As a kid, I remember seeing a Dodge Viper RT10 with the blue and white stripe colorway and instantly fell in love with the look of this car. The history of the Dodge Viper is interesting altogether, but there's something about the earlier versions of this car that just seem timeless. This particular Hot Wheels car is from 2018 and is also one of the treasure hunts in that year. Even though it's not the classic blue with white stripes that I originally fell in love with, this car still looks fantastic.
Number 4
belongs to this standard kart that also happens to belong to Mario. This Hot Wheels car of Mario's Kart was released in 2021 as a part of the Screen Time series. This cracked my top 5 purely based on sentimental memories of playing Mario Kart on the N64 for hours and hours. The N64 is probably my favorite gaming console of all time, and Mario Kart has to be one of its best games. Coming in at
number 3
is this 2001 Mini Cooper. In 2003, the Italian Job movie was released. This movie was a remake of the 1969 classic, but definitely still hit hard. The car that was heavily featured in this film was the 2003 Mini Cooper S. After seeing this movie, me and practically everybody else wanted to drive a Mini Cooper, or maybe it was just me. Now, the Hot Wheels version of this car that I have is from 2001 and also isn't a Mini Cooper S, but it was also a gift from my aunt, which makes it all the more special to have in my collection. The
number 2
spot goes to this Volvo 240 drift wagon. Growing up, my family had a couple of Volvos, including the 1987 Volvo 740 and the 1984 Volvo 244. I feel like Volvo is a hard thing to say. Volvo. Volvo. Say that 5 times fast. Volvo. Okay, even though this 240 drift wagon looks slightly different than the car my family had, it still reminds me of one of the cars that I grew up riding in. That leaves the
number 1
spot. The top Hot Wheels car in my current collection is this 1989 Porsche 959. This is one of the few Hot Wheels cars that I have out of its original card, but there is a good reason for that. Growing up, one of my favorite things to do was to visit my grandparents. My grandpa had a small shoebox that was full of Hot Wheels and Matchbox cars. He was pretty particular about keeping the cars in good condition, but he did let me play with some of his Hot Wheels cars. Only one at a time, so I didn't bump them together. Fast forward a few years, and I was fortunate enough to take care of my grandpa's collection. This Porsche 959 was my favorite when I was 5 years old and is still my favorite today. This car and the rest of my grandpa's collection will always hold a special place in my heart. As the Hot Wheels hunting continues in the days ahead, I also wanted to share my top 3 Hot Wheels cars that are on my most wanted list. Number 3 is the Ferrari 458 Italia. The first 458 Italia Hot Wheels car was released in 2010 and definitely is going to be a harder car to find. Coming in at number 2 is the Lamborghini Aventador. Hot Wheels cars of Aventadors have been coming out since 2012, with the latest one being released in the Car Culture series. Now, why these 2 cars, might you ask? In 2013, my dad and I took a quick trip down to Las Vegas solely for the purpose of driving supercars. We booked our times and we chose our cars. He chose the Ferrari 458 Italia and I chose the Lamborghini Aventador. I would love to find these Hot Wheels cars to have them as a memory of the day that I got to track supercars with my dad in Las Vegas. The number 1 Hot Wheels car that is on my most wanted list that I have mentioned before is the 1998 Subaru WRX STI 22B. The first car I ever drove was a Pontiac Montana minivan. The first car I drove regularly once I had my full license was my parents' 1988 Toyota Corolla. But the first car that I ever owned was a 1998 Subaru Impreza, and I'll put a picture of it right here in Chia Butte. Unfortunately, I was hit in a car accident and the car got written off. Nonetheless, that car is still my favorite. Now, there aren't any Hot Wheels cars of just stock 98 Subaru Imprezas, at least that I'm aware of. So the WRX STI 22B is the closest version that I'll be able to find. And that's why it's number 1 on my most wanted list. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me and taking a look at my top 5 Hot Wheels cars. If you don't want to miss out on any upcoming videos, please make sure to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell for notifications. Before you go, drop me a comment down below. Let me know, what is a Hot Wheels car that you are hunting for? Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. See you later.